It's 6 o'clock. The meeting will come to order. Could we do the roll call, Madam Recorder?
Alderwoman Payne.
Here.
Alderman Malone.
Here.
Alderwoman Keith.
Here.
Vice Mayor Adams. Alderman Johnson.
Here.
All right. Everyone needs to stand, say prayer. And you will do us the honors, followed by the pledge.
In the name of Jesus. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you, Lord, in our only way we know how, asking you to please forgive us for all of our sins. Lord, we thank you for your grace. We thank you for your mercy. Father God, we thank you for your protection. Lord, I ask that you watch over each and every one of us. Keep us covered under your blood. And Father God, as we go through this meeting, Lord, I ask God that you would lead us, guide us, and direct us in the path you have us to go. And Lord, every decision we make, Lord, we ask God that it will be pleasing unto you. And I'll be so careful to give you all the glory, all the honor, and all the praise. In Jesus' holy name we pray. And everybody said amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We'll go ahead and start with the first session of public comments. Anyone would like to speak?
James Roberts, 231 Lakeview Drive. First, I'm sure all of you are aware, and if not, you will be now. I had applied for the position of town manager, and I want you all to know that I am rescinding that application at this moment, so that you know everything that I go forward isn't because I have a vested interest. I want you to listen to what I say. I have only had the interest of this town at heart since I started coming to these meetings, and I'm concerned with what I potentially see happening here. And to quote Alderwoman Keith, it's the same old, same old. One of the applicants that's going to be interviewed tonight is an employee of a contracted organization that the town is contracting. I find that to be in poor taste and a conflict of interest. I also find concern in the fact that that particular individual at the last Planning and Zoning Board meeting couldn't identify how to get in touch with our town attorney. His name, Fry, is listed on the website. Furthermore, he went on to that meeting to recommend himself the Zoning Planning Board on the idea to allow the Planning and Zoning Board to summarily approve what's considered low interest or unimportant requests from the public for variances or for whatever any requests that come through the Planning and Zoning Board. They now, his organization can now approve that and then bring it to the town later. I feel like that an individual that is truly interested in investing in this position wouldn't want to pass off responsibility and would want to take ownership. As such, I attempted to be prepared, and I apologize. I'm not prepared tonight. I did request to see the applications so that I can review them as a citizen of this town to give you input. I requested it be a text message. I received no response to that. I came down today and requested it in person. I was told that our town records keeper did not have them and that she does not have them. So I wasn't able to get them, so I left. I was called later and said, you can come down and see them at 4 o'clock. I came down at 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock I was told that I am not allowed to see them for 7 days until they are redacted. And that was by direction of Pete Auger and Paul Fry. That is not in alignment with what the TCA says. So that'll be a separate matter for another time. Another applicant that is put in, having only been able to see what is published on LinkedIn, that applicant appears to have been granted an MPA about 2 years ago. Doesn't appear to have worked in anything remotely close to this, doesn't seem to have much management or supervisory experience except for back in the 90s. So my concern, with all due respect to Mr. Auger, is like he used to talk to the former town manager about the importance of a degree, I'm afraid maybe the candidates you were brought were purely based on their degree and not on the caliber of the candidate or their experience in the other areas that are going to be forthcoming. So do with that as you will. Like I said, I now have no dog in the fight. I'm just trying to look out for the future of this town, and I'm concerned with what I see coming down the pipeline. Thank you.
Would anyone else care to speak? All right. We will now move on. Discussion and action. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen structured interview instruction. Mr. Pete Auger.
Thank you, Mayor. We have packets for each of you here.
Thank you. Nice photo.
Trying to do it okay. All right. That's kind of a nice segue into what we're going to do here with structured interviews. And it is important when you look at items. I think one of the things the EMA said 2 years ago when we started this process, one was they did want education. They thought it would be important for this position to have education. And you went out and said you prefer master's degree. Qualification was bachelor's, but you prefer master's degree. The 3 people you'll be interviewing today have master's degree. As far as experience, all 3 of the people you'll be speaking with and listening to today have some experience in local government, whether it be working with the local governments or, one was limited as far as an internship but understood what local government is. Not a lot of people who applied up to 7. Not any had real management experience in municipal management. But sometimes that's what you get when you're a small town putting it out there the first time. And with the salary and wage, people are looking to either break into the system of governance or change what they've been doing. The reason that we do structured interviews, because we broke it down into the 5 competencies we talked about at the workshop. Okay, so I'll be asking the questions, so you can pay attention to their answers and what they're doing. And I'll walk you through a sheet here to explain it. We'll go through the first one. Now, each question is 2 parts in itself. There are 2 questions, 2 main components in each competency, but each question is 2 things, because we're going to talk about their experience. Because how do you select somebody for this position? You can just ask open-ended questions, and they can make up stuff. And as long as they can make up stuff and do a nice little dance up here and impress you, I'm gonna do everything. I'm gonna pave the streets. I'm gonna get the infrastructure fixed. You betcha. I'm gonna follow all the rules. They're gonna tell you all about the dreams they have and paint with a really wide brush. But we found it's better to ask them on their experiences. That predicts better of what they will do in the future. So the first part of the question will be, have you ever gone whale fishing? Okay? If they say no, we're not going to go further on that question because they've never done that. So we're not even going to waste the time on that. Doesn't mean they're not a candidate, a good candidate. That's just one section that they've never done whale fishing. If they say yes, there'll be a follow-up question that I'll ask them is, tell me about a time when you went whale fishing and what were the results. And then you'll get to see what their experience is. Now, of course, we're not going to be talking whale fishing. We're going to be talking municipal things. We're going to be talking leadership. All those things that you brought out at the table 2 years ago, up to 2 years ago, because then we met again. Now, the benchmarks, if you take the first one, it's important to keep these separated. I paper clip them in groups because you'll have 3, 1 for each one. The workbooks are tailored individually to each one because it'll be asked the same questions. But if you take the first one, Samuel will be our first contestant, interviewee, and you go to the first page. This is on conceptual ability. Behaviors, collects information, knows appropriate technical parts of the job, analyzes information, detects early problems, creates appropriate options, goals, ideas, and solution, delegates appropriately, shows appropriate level of technical, legal, and management principles for local government setting. The 2 questions will revolve around that. Just under that, you see the rating system, 1 to 4. 1 does not meet requirements, 2 partially meets requirements, 3 fully meets requirements, and 4 exceeds requirements. Everyone with me so far? Okay, that's where you're going to put your X. And you notice there's 1 in the middle, so you can go 1.5 or 2.5 or 3.5 if they sort. You're going to say, well, how is everyone going to judge the same things? If you go down to the behavioral benchmarks on the bottom, the low end of the spectrum, the first one is a good example. Did not give example of conflict, ethical dilemma, decision, project, or risk. See, they didn't answer the question. They didn't give an example. So that's a low end. So you might check next to that box. Okay? Now, I'll come back to that. The next page, you notice, is a note page. You can jot down notes if you want, because we're going to ask 2 questions, and then you're going to total those 2, because the first question and the second question, you don't rate the first one and say, oh, okay, it's a 2.5. You keep that in your mind that the first question says 2.5, and then the next question, they might have a 3.5. So you say, okay, between the 2 of that, they're going to be a 3. Does that make sense? Everyone still with me? There's 2 questions for each. Okay? So the first and the second questions. Now on the other end is the high end. So you just have things like provide specific examples from the past. So they did give examples of the past. You might just put a check mark there if they did. Because as they're talking, you don't want to be totally taking notes. You want to watch them and how they interact with you. Because a lot of the job as a city manager is about personalities, especially in the hot seat and getting flustered. How are they going to relate to you and get you information? Is there communication? The last one is on communication that we'll get to. So this is the first one. You can look over those behavioral benchmarks there, so you're familiar with it on the first question. The questions 1 and 2 I will be asking. I will be asking, but they will be answering to you. And the reason I ask the question, because it stays the same, nothing changes. All 3 candidates get the same questions. Hopefully that makes sense. So look over those low on behavior benchmarks. And the high ones, because when we ask the question, I want you mentally to be able to connect and say, okay, that's lower. He's doing this, or she's doing that. That's on the lower end. Or, oh my gosh, yes, they answered that. They answered that. And like I say, the next page is notes. So you can jot down some things that you like or you didn't like or whatever to jog your memory, because then after the 2 questions, you're going to take a minute and put a mark where you think it is. Everyone good on the first page?
You mean a check mark?
A check, yeah, a check mark up top here.
Okay.
After both questions, because the first question, they might be over here, and the second question, see the question here, they might be over here. So you're going to blend those 2 together to get you your
Oh,
final.
okay. So we have to wait for both questions to be
Yes.
asked before we check the boxes at the
Right, but you'll be checking down here if they're close to these,
Okay.
or if they're close to these. You might put a little check mark there saying, okay, yeah, they did this, or, oh, they're closer to this. or you might be in the middle, and just whatever.
And doing the check mark down there is something that refers us on how to actually go up here to the box.
Very good. So if you've got 3 on this side and 2 on this side, then that's where it's going to be closer on that. Okay? Making sense now?
Yeah.
So I know it seems complicated, but I'm doing this so it's easy. I think after we get through it, you'll say, okay, now it all made sense. Can we do it again?
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on past the notes on the next page. Motivation to achieve. This starts with and maintains high energy and activity, sets own performance goals, set high standards, highly achieves, continues to improve, self-starter, and strives for results. Again, there's 2 questions there that I'm going to be asking. The first one is always a yes or no. Have you ever? If it's a no, okay, that's the answer to the question. Doesn't mean they're a bad person. Just they haven't done that. So we're not going to spend time on them, having them make up an experience that I'm sure will be wonderful. We want to know what they've done in the past. That's a better predictor. You have those 2 questions. Bunch of the behavioral benchmarks on those are different than the other page. So you're going to want to look over those. Half dozen things on the low end. Good. And easily defeated by obstacles or lacking initiative, those type of things. You're just going to put a mark there to remind you, yeah, that's where they are. Or they've described initiatives taken, met the goals and deadlines. If they're closer to that end, you put a check there. And again, after the 2 questions, we'll pause and you'll put a mark up there. Okay, you're not going to discuss it amongst yourself or anything. You're just going to put, this is just where you're putting the mark. Okay. Everyone read the bottom and read those things. You all good? Okay. Get by the notes on the next page. Work habits. Everyone on the work habits?
Yes.
Okay, so description on the top, arranges work resources, arranges work and resources for others, detail-oriented, anticipates plans for the future, follows up, check work of others, audits accuracy, correctness, adheres to rules, policy, laws, is self-disciplined, maintains effectiveness under pressure, opposition, and or disappointment. And again, you'll see you have 2 questions that I'll be asking. And you want to look over those benchmarks on the bottom. The did nots or the provided. The highs are the provided, the did nots are on the low end. You all good on the behavior benchmarks? You have an idea there? Okay. Then you go by the notes on the next page in your 2 interpersonal skills. Interpersonal skills, behaviors, considers others' needs, persuades others effectively, acts based on their own convictions, is a appropriately firm, shows empathy, shows cooperation, respects differing opinions, respects rights of others, is fair-minded, is approachable, is thoughtful of others, and is responsible. And those are the behaviors in your interpersonal skills. Again, you'll see the 2 questions, and then down to the behavioral benchmarks. So you'll know, if they're answering and their questions are on one side or the other, they might not swerve too far. They might be all on one side. Or they might go off on a tangent. You might have to take notes and figure out what did they do and how did they do it? And does it fit in this category? I've been on interviews where people used to filibuster, and they just talk. So that's one of the things on the last page we'll get to, and you'll get to get one of those. But again, important to look at those behavioral benchmarks. No examples, fails to communicate, provide detailed response, etc. Both low and high. This should give you a framework of where you can hopefully say, okay, yeah, they're more on this side. Yes, they did that. So then you can check those marks, and after the 2 questions, you'll go back up and make your annotations. And during that time, the candidate can take a breath, because they're probably pretty nervous. You all good on benchmarks there?
Yes.
Everyone familiarized and read them? So you don't have to memorize. I just want you to, when we get you the question and you say, okay, I'm going to look down there. I'm not just going to look at the paper because I want to make eye contact with the person, make sure that they're making eye contact, those type of things. That's why I wrote them down, so you don't have to take a lot of notes. You can check. You can take notes. It's important, but check mark and move on. Okay, now we get to the last section. We should be on the last section. It says communication ability. Everyone on that page? Okay. Behaviors. Express thoughts well. Has professional body language. Speaks clearly. Doesn't ramble. Uses proper grammar. Keep my grandma out of this. Adjust style, tone, pace, and words as needed. Listens well. Pays attention to others. Okay. Now, again, this is more encompassing of the whole interview. Because there's no question. You see there's no question on this page. So at the end, you're going to take a minute and reflect. And this is why if you take notes on the other pages like ramble on, or, didn't make any sense to me, then you can get that translate to this page. Or maybe they don't make any eye contact. I'm going to tell them, answer to the board, don't answer to me. I'm reading the questions, but you answer, and maybe they don't make eye contact. That's where you put this down.
Does management skills come after communication ability?
I'll have to go back and look and make sure we're all on the same page, because you don't want to be marking on the different one.
Well, we went from work habits and interpersonal skills, and I think we may have glossed over management skills.
Yeah.
Oh, did I miss that one?
You did.
Yeah, that's why I think you jumped.
My bad.
I think you jumped to communication ability, and I'm looking at management skills.
Management.
Mm-hmm. That's why I asked. Maybe they were out of order.
Thank you for catching that. We'll all want to be on the same page, that's for sure.
Literally.
Okay, first should be conceptual abilities. Second should be motivation to achieve. Third should be work habits. Fourth interpersonal skills.
Okay.
Next, management skills. That's the one we skipped, right?
Yes.
Okay, so make sure we look over those on the management skills. Good catch. Paper stick together.
Nice management skills.
I don't meet the criteria.
Again, we're focusing on their history of what they've done, not what they see in the future. Because anyone can make up the future. It's hard to make up the past, and the past is a better indicator moving forward.
Right.
And then we get to the communication ability that I got prematurely to. After communication ability, there's one more page, scoring summary of past behavior entry. So we'll just, as we're dismissing the applicant who's crying, you'll go to this page and go back and put your score next to each category. Okay? So if you have a 2.5, put a 2.5 there. If it's a 3.5, don't worry about the average score. That's for me to do. So you put those scores in there, and you'll put the whole packet back together. Put the paper clip on it, and I'll collect them all. Then I'll average them all out. And at the end of the day, you'll say, okay, who rated where? Okay? Because they'll all go through the same process. And this way, after the interviews, I can tell you who scored what. And that's when we can take the next step.
That doesn't mean whoever scores the highest that might possibly be who we would hire.
No, this is just a
Okay.
tool. This is just a tool.
Because we might find something in somebody else
Right.
that
The personality was better,
Right.
or the answer.
Okay.
You somehow had a connection, because you know that working on the board, you want that connection with your major liaison to the employees. You need to be able to speak their language, or they need to be able to speak your language.
Yes.
So somebody might not have the highest score, but everyone feels they would be the best person for that position.
for the employees and also
Right.
speaking to the board members.
Yeah. So
Understand.
this is just a tool. It's a chance for you to meet these people and get information and see what everyone else felt, how that measured up to what you thought. Because you might have rated somebody low or they rated them high. I don't know why that happened. Okay? If there is a clear person that you would like, you say, oh, everyone agreed. Person X was, I think, what we need. Don't have a lot of experience, but I like this. And you really think, I think
Okay.
you're not going to offer anyone a job tonight. Okay? But if you get to that point, you say, out of these three, I think one person, and you can all agree it's one person, we just advance to the next step. And that is getting them to sign a waiver so we can do a background check. They have this person in this position, police department should do a back, but they have to sign off on it. Should do a credit check. This is what normally happens to people in these positions, so you know you've got a little bit more background before you offer a job position. And during that time, usually what happens is the mayor and the attorney or the mayor and MTS will contact the person and start working out a contractual agreement. But that won't be a final offer until the background's done.
Right.
Make sense? So then everything's hashed out with the contract, and it comes back to you. Now let's say the negative happens, and all three good people in here, different experiences, but nothing clicks. They didn't have the experience, they don't have examples of when they did stuff like they're going to be doing here, and you're not happy. It's okay. That happens. You don't have to hire someone just because we're interviewing.
Right.
You don't have to say, well, this person was the best of the three, so we have to hire them. If it doesn't click, it's better to go back out fishing and go again. Maybe talk about other things. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Everyone good?
I do have a question. So we're not going to interact, correct?
Correct.
So we should push our microphones out of the way so even the noise that
So it doesn't tempt you.
Can we push that button and shut it off?
I think so.
So do we totally record shut down?
No.
We totally have to.
You just for each category, and I'll do the total. I'll do the math at the end. Yes, I will use a job. Abacus in animal.
I'm glad you're doing the math, not me.
Well, that's why you just translate from page, the score page to that page, and then we'll unselect them and we'll do them, and then we'll find out at the end. We don't want to poison the water for somebody else coming in. If that makes sense. We want this to be equitable to all answering the questions. And again, they say no, that doesn't mean they're disqualified. If they've never been, to use the example, whale fishing, that doesn't disqualify. Maybe they do the second part, or maybe that's whole section. They've never done anything like, no, I've never had that experience. You'd rather hear that now and probably the honesty.
Yes.
Because sometimes the hardest part of city manager is saying when you don't know something. So, it doesn't normally cut somebody out just because they didn't have that experience yet. Any questions? We're almost right on schedule. Okay, should we bring the first victim in?
It's going to be odd not to be talking. Oh, you won't finish this. I mean, why was that so funny?
It's like you were
Like I always talk.
like you were fixing to say that.
I am so glad I pleased this for them. You get a good cackle out of me. Yeah, because I do have a tendency to stick my foot in my mouth sometimes. At least it's a small foot.
Okay, as I explained, I'll be asking the questions, but you answer to the board of these questions. There's two parts to every question. The first one is a yes or no, then the follow-up will be more detailed. Promise they don't fight.
Okay.
All right. First question will fall in the category of conceptual ability. Have you ever faced an ethical dilemma or a situation where there was a conflict of interest in the workplace?
I have not in a governmental capacity. I have in another capacity.
Right, in your work life?
Correct.
Okay. What did you do?
Well, the situation had to do with, I was a supervisor at one time at Bristol James, which has been a while. And there were people that were being an employee of mine, several employees of mine, were coming in and working. They were college students. And the owner of the company was a college basketball supporter, and he would let people come in and work. They would get paid more usually than what we got paid and not do much work. So, in that situation, I went to my supervisor, or would be the area manager, and those people were supposed to do more work. So that was the end result, was that the ones that stayed did what they were supposed to do. The others left.
What did you learn from that experience?
Well, people try to, it's a general thought that don't say anything because nothing's going to change and things like that. And that can be the case, but in a lot of instances, once something is brought to the attention of someone who knows or cares, they are willing to handle it because it reflects poorly upon that person ultimately. And when they correct that, then it puts a better light on them with the other employees who are there to do the job and who come every day prepared to work and get the job done.
Okay, moving on to question 2. Have you ever made a decision or been given a project to act on without complete information?
Yes.
Okay. Explain your process in deriving a solution or making a decision to execute the project.
So, at Roll Moldings, which was the last full-time position that I held, and the reason I'm not there anymore has nothing to do with this instance, but they decided not to paint products to compete more with the Chinese products that were coming in the country. So they needed to work. We had a significant dollar value in paint that would have to be worked off, put into other colors is the preferred method. Other things, there are some paint that is wasted or dumped, which costs extra money for the dumping or for the disposal, on top of not getting the dollar value out of the paint. So I was asked to work the paint off, and I was not given specific instructions as to how to do that, just to do it. And we got that taken care of, which is a negative and a positive. Ultimately, I worked myself out of the job, but it wasn't going to happen. That wasn't a years long or a lifetime position anyhow, in that capacity.
Okay. I'm going to ask the BMA to put your check marks where you will before we move on. Just take a second. You can catch your breath here. There is some water there if you...
Okay.
Yeah, we're all set. move on together. The next section is motivation to achieve. Question 3 is, have you ever been required to complete a project that you were not enthusiastic about?
Yes, I think we're all.
Okay, that's the first question. Now the second question, tell us how you motivated yourself to complete the project.
Also, everybody, I believe, has to do things at times that they're not really comfortable with or that they do not prefer to do. But ultimately, I think the best way to picture it is that we all have a job to do. When I do my job, it reflects positively on the whole entire company or organization. When I don't do what I'm supposed to do, it reflects negatively upon the company or organization. And that helps motivate you because it's not just you. It is the entire organization. You may be the person that is the point of contact, but ultimately, if you are that person, then you are the representative, and you want to give the best picture of the organization that you can.
So in this instance you're thinking about, did you meet the project deadlines?
Yes.
Okay. The next question, question 4. Have you developed initiatives to motivate employees?
No.
Okay. If the BMA could make their ratings. Looks like everybody's about done. Okay. Next section deals with work habits. Question 5 is, have you ever participated, facilitated, or organized a strategic planning session with elected or appointed officials or internal staff?
I have not done that with elected or appointed officials.
Okay. Let's move down to the next question, question 6. Have you ever made a mistake while working on a project?
Yes.
Why don't you tell us about the mistake?
Several come to mind, but the one I guess that sticks out the most in my mind is when I was a new employee at Bristol Jeans. I was probably, that would have been somewhere between 93 and 97. I was a supervisor at that time. I told one of the employees who worked under me to dye a certain load. We did wash and dye. I told him to dye a certain load of clothes or box of clothes a certain color, and it was not the right color. So they got dyed wrong. Now there's remedies for that.
What did you do after you found the mistake?
Well, I did not know that it was the wrong box until the next day. And I had a nasty email. Well, it wasn't an email, it was a note at that time from my manager. And as difficult as it was, I called him and said, "It's my mistake. I'm who told him to do it." And he appreciated the honesty. It wasn't really a real nice situation, but he told me not to ever do it again without.
All right. The board would make your marks. Okay, next section is interpersonal skills. Question 7. Have you ever changed someone else's perspective on a policy or vice versa?
I have not.
Okay. You can move to question 8. A little setup here that in your work experience, have you dealt with the media?
I have not dealt with them.
How about a time when that you communicated information to a large group of people?
As part of the scholarship.
That's a yes or no?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, all right. Tell us about the positive experience. Tell us about the negative experience.
So when you repeat the question one more
Yep.
time, I'm sorry.
Tell us a time that you communicated information to a large group of people.
So as a condition of the scholarship I received at ETSU in the master's program, I was a graduate lecturer. I was the professor of record for a class of 35 students. I guess the most rewarding experience I had there was to see how you inspire people with your teaching. I don't call myself the best teacher, but I presented a point of view that I thought was accurate. It was honest, and I know it impacted some of the students because one particular young lady decided to do a debate on something that we had in another class to end the semester on a topic that I had discussed in class, and that's always a rewarding experience for this teacher, or for the professor. I will go into this as well. The last question, I think I can tie it into this. You know, we commonly want to change people's views that when they don't agree with you. I think it is important to realize, though, everybody has, there's an accurate point, or everybody has a valid point in an argument. The entire argument may not be valid, and maybe none of it's valid to your perspective. But when we want to change their point of view, I think that's the wrong way to think. I think that we should learn what we can to incorporate their ideas into the plan. And that's something that I learned more so. I take classes at Liberty as well. And there I have learned they talk about the administrative relationship most closely resembling a covenant where everybody has equal accountability and responsibility. And I had never heard that prior to going to Liberty. But if you think about it, it is a way to picture the relationship that should exist between you all and the public, and myself and the public if I have the opportunity to get this job, and myself and you all, or whoever fills this position.
Okay, the board would put your marks in your personal skills section. Next one is the management skills, so we're all on the same page. My pages didn't get stuck together.
No, they're fine.
More checking me than you guys.
Right on.
All right, management skills. Question 9. Have you delegated to staff members in your past leadership positions?
I have.
Tell us how you delegated in the past. How did you measure successful implementation? Tell us about a time that the staff member did not accomplish the results you desired. So I'll repeat that. There's three follow-ups in one there. Tell us how you delegated in the past. How did you measure successful implementation? And tell us about a time a staff member did not accomplish the results you desired.
So the best example of that, I believe, would be at West Virginia again. And I was the second shift supervisor. At that time, I was the most, I'm trying to think of the right word. I would have been the highest person after the office staff left and the owners and the upper management went home each day. I would have been the person that would be the responsible person for the entire plant, although there wasn't that many people working. And we would have a list of things that we were supposed to accomplish that day. And I would delegate to the employees, just like the example I used of telling one their own instructions that time. It was my responsibility to tell them what to do and to get them to do it. In that capacity, success is solely did you get what you were supposed to get done, and was it correct? If it wasn't correct, it was not. I mean, it would either have to be done again, or it could be a second. So success and failure hinges on the amount of work done and the correct or incorrect, whether it was closer to standard or not to standard.
What techniques or tools did you use to work with those employees?
Well, at that time, we weren't as advanced technologically as we are now. I just had a schedule, and I would write down what I was scheduled, what I was supposed to have done that day. We were relayed what each machine should run, and I would relay that to the employees. I was also out on the floor the entire shift unless we had we loaded some drugs at night, and we often took calls, but for the most part I spent 80% of my time out on the floor just interacting with the people and trying to build character between us.
Okay. Moving on to question 10. Have you cut costs in your organization budget?
At Roll Moldings,
Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Well, what did you do?
At Royal Moldings, I was one of the people who, we had one paint company that it was pretty much our sole supplier. One of the keys originally, until they found out how to quit painting altogether, was to go to a less expensive paint. And that's what we did. And when you do that, all the colors that we use, the typical colors, had to be made from that paint to make sure you could do it, and then it was sprayed out and tested for durability. But we made a significant change, and at the time, I'm thinking it saved the organization like somewhere in the neighborhood of $10 to $15 a gallon on paint. We used probably 2,000 to 3,000 gallons a month at the time, so it was a significant savings.
Good. I asked the board to score that page and then move on to the next page where there are no questions. You're just kind of encompassing the interview, and then the last page, transmit your scores to that page, and then paperclip. And I'll walk you out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Save myself a step or two.
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Little testing, man.
front either. I didn't go off front either. No. No, I think I one already. Yeah.
discuss, I'll be asking you the question, but you're going to answer to the board. And there's 2 sections to every question. First is a yes or no, and then there's more of a in-detail question following that. The first question deals with conceptual ability. And the first question is, have you ever faced an ethical dilemma or situation where there was a conflict of interest in the workplace?
Yes, I have.
Okay. What did you do?
So it's best to face the conflict head on. It's best to get ahead of it before it presents itself, essentially.
So what did you do?
So I was able to speak with members of the board, point out the conflict of interest itself, and provide them remedies on how we can get around the conflict.
What did you learn from that experience?
I learned that it's important to know every aspect of a situation that you're dealing in. It's important to do your homework and do your research and know what you're getting into.
Okay. Second question: have you made a decision on, or been given a project? Have you made a decision or been given a project to act on without complete information?
Yes.
Explain the process in deriving a solution or making decisions to execute the project.
So in planning, you frequently run into projects that you, quite frankly, don't have all the answers to at one time. A project in particular was in a city in Greene County where there's a development going on that we didn't have all the answers to. On the site plan, there were some concerns that came up. During that, I was able to work back and forth with the city and the developer to get answers to those questions. And ultimately, the questions were remedied, and the project was able to continue.
Did you change course on anything in this?
Indirectly, we changed course. I would say it wasn't a major change, but we did have to retool some things, but ultimately it was able to go through like we had originally thought it would.
When you're dealing with multiple parties like that, how did you communicate?
It's best to be as transparent as possible.
It's best, but what did you do?
I was able to be as transparent as possible between every party.
Sorry, I'm a stickler for that.
I fully understand.
I can write really beautiful stories. All right. I'll ask the board now to check boxes where you need check. Finish off that page. There is one that's not just decoration. Are we good?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll go on to question number 3. This is motivation to achieve. Have you ever been required to complete a project that you were not enthusiastic about?
Yes, I have.
Tell us how you motivated yourself to complete this project.
So early on, right out of MPA school, I was an intern, and frequently as an intern you get tasked with projects that frankly aren't great, and it's hard to be enthusiastic about them. But I was able to look at the big picture and think, these are just statistical measures, but I can see how this will benefit the city as a whole.
What were the results?
The results were that my statistics were presented at a board meeting, and some changes were made to better implement policy.
Did you meet all the deadlines? Okay, next question. Question 4. Have you developed initiatives to motivate employees?
I have not done that.
Okay. The board will make the appropriate marks. set? We're on to work habits. Question 5. Have you ever participated, facilitated, or organized strategic planning sessions with elected or appointed officials or internal staff?
Yes, I have.
Tell us about this experience. What was your role? Did the group set priorities and goals? If so, what was your role in this? What techniques did you use to maintain participation throughout the process and set direction?
Yeah, so again, in planning, we frequently do this by organizing meetings. I'll talk about one example. In Mountain City, we were tasked to do their land use and transportation plan. They wanted a complete overhaul of said plan. This required multiple meetings, public input sessions. It was a long and arduous process. Tasks I used to keep elected officials on task were to remind them how this does benefit the city, remind them that you can use this document to chase higher grant dollars, essentially keep reminding them of the end goal. And again, to facilitate everything, I tried to be as transparent as possible between the boards and the public to build this plan to not only what the city wanted done, but what the public wanted done.
What were the results?
The results, we were able to draft a completed plan, and that plan is now passed and in place.
Okay. We'll move on to question 6. Have you ever made a mistake while working on a project?
Yes, I have.
Tell us about the mistakes.
Yeah, so it's easy to make mistakes, missed deadlines, typos, things of that nature. A mistake I made was I drafted an ordinance that had a mistake in it, had actually gotten passed with the mistake in it. I actually caught my mistake, brought it forth to the board, told them what happened, explained the situation, and we were able to fix the ordinance and get it edited as it needed to be.
What did you do to find the mistake?
So we have zoning maps that we keep and update, and after this had gotten passed, I was going to make the change within the map itself, and then I happened to notice that the wrong address was on the ordinance. So we changed the zoning for the wrong parcel by mistake.
Any ramifications from this
No, we
mistake?
We were able to catch it early enough in the process that it hadn't gotten fully passed.
Okay. The board could finish that page out. All set? Okay. Moving on to interpersonal skills. Question 7. Have you ever changed someone else's perspective on a policy or vice versa?
Yes, I have.
Tell us about the experience.
So again, this comes back to planning. Planning at times is very divisive because people don't want oversight of their land. But it's best, again, it goes back to transparency. It goes back to explaining why you're making the change that you're making, or why this rule is in place. And usually if you explain it in a well enough manner, they tend to get the gist.
What was your approach in communicating to get this change?
Yeah, it's about being open as possible, not trying to...
Yeah, well, I'm not asking generally, but the specific incident here about changing the policy or vice versa.
So it was about a road frontage issue with a subdivision, I was able to explain why we have road frontage minimums, why they are what they are, and just go through the exact process essentially.
So you went right to the person involved.
Well, they had approached me about it, so
Okay.
it was a interpersonal conversation.
Question 8. In your work experience, have you dealt with the media?
Yes.
Tell us about a positive experience. Tell us about a negative experience.
So, a positive experience in Greene County, again, we were doing a large development that we were doing a rezone for. The media was there, the newspaper in particular, and we were able to explain exactly what we were doing, why we were doing it, what the potential outcomes for the community could be, and that we were doing this to try to limit conflicts within the community from this development. An unfortunate negative experience I have is recently from a proposed Bitcoin mine operation that got a little off kilter. Was a lot of information spread that wasn't true, and it was a negative conversation with the media. But again, we were able to keep through it.
Any techniques or tools you use in that negative situation?
I know I keep going back this, but it's transparency. It's getting ahead of the negative information. Being open as possible.
Okay, Word, if you can finish out that page. Just to make sure my pages didn't stick together, are we on management?
Yes.
Are we all set? All right. Question 9 is on management skills. Have you delegated to staff members in your past leadership positions?
Yes.
Tell us how you delegated in the past. What did you measure? Successful implementation. Tell us about a time that a staff member did not accomplish the results you desired.
So I was able to delegate some map making opportunities to a coworker, and he was able to deliver on those deliverables. We'll say there was no conflicts about it. He understood what we were doing and why we were doing it. But again, my management experience is limited, so I have delegated projects like that, but on a smaller scale.
Okay. Question 10. If you cut cost in your organization's budget, okay, the board would fill out the page. And then the board can go to the next page and fill out the communication ability, and then the final tallies. That was my name.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Give me another beat. It could be a long time. I said it could be a long time.
No, it didn't.
Here you go. Who turned down a York peppermint patty? A cool, crisp sensation. One of my favorites. I told her, it's like my grandmother always loved them and would buy them and wouldn't tell nobody. She'd hand me one and tell me to shut up. And I love them.
Mother too.
See, I know how to sweeten her over now. York peppermint patties. I know. I remember the commercials where the
Yeah, look good on-
everybody
good on practice.
skiing when they
I don't know.
get the old commercials. Yeah.
Well, maybe I'm doing it wrong. I just added my 5 and 5s, and
Yeah.
that came to a whole number. I added a whole number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't took my shoes off yet.
I am not good at math.
I'm going to start using even numbers.
I'm going to take next time tell him take these halves out.
What's that?
Yeah.
Well, I'm doing rough math, but I'm going to double check it. I'm going to check everybody's math.
Yeah, here it is. Just crossed it out. I just crossed it out.
What's that?
Okay. So I have to call you over here and say,
Yeah.
I might not have written this over. I might have threw the file.
That's a pretty picture of the boardwalk, isn't it?
No?
That's a pretty picture of the boardwalk.
Just call me
It
Gloria.
is. And it looks like all the bulbs are working.
I'm Chris Perez. As we talk out there, I'll be asking you questions, but you respond to the board. And two parts to every question. The first part is just a yes or no, and then the second one will get into the details. Sure. The first one is on conceptual ability. Question 1, have you ever faced an ethical dilemma or situation where there was a conflict of interest in the workplace?
So, yes, do you want me to use this, or can you hear me?
No,
Or do
that's
you want
fine.
it? I know for YouTube it's probably easier, but for the hosting, I don't know. I've watched some videos.
The question is, have you ever faced an ethical dilemma or situation where there was conflict of interest in the workplace?
Yes.
What did you do?
So I have a few examples of this, one of which is I am actually a firearms instructor, so an NRA certified instructor, and we had to testify against firearms in New Hampshire as my role within public health. Within the Division of Public Health Services, we had to discuss firearms, and they wanted me to speak against firearms. And for me, that was personally, ethically, not what I was willing to support, but also because I was an NRA instructor, I didn't feel comfortable with that. So I was able to bring in other subject matter experts to do that for me so that I could step away and not feel as though there was that conflict of interest. And then I have another one as well, it was again with public health, but we had what, I don't know if you have heard of this, but PFAS, the perfluorinated chemicals, forever chemicals. We had an issue with the dairy farmers where, this is now public so I can talk about it, but we had an issue where the dairy farmers, we had to go in and test their milk, but we couldn't tell anyone why. And so that was very, I don't know if sketchy is the right word, but we all felt very uncomfortable with it. And it was not necessarily a conflict of interest, but it was an ethical issue we were dealing with because we were working with the Department of Agriculture and the dairy farmers throughout the state to test this milk. Ended up the milk was fine. We didn't have any issues, but still having to go through and do that and then come out to the public with it later as to what we did and how we ensured the milk was safe.
What did you learn from that?
So I learned that with the firearms one, that I could always tap someone else to take care of the matter if I didn't feel that, I could represent my department or division very well. I was able to rely on my subject matter experts to do that work, which was very helpful. And I was able to prepare them for questions. As for the milk one, it was really just bringing in our partners sooner, our partners with the agriculture department and things of that nature, bringing them in sooner so that we could work on making sure we were more transparent with the dairy farmers and things of that nature.
Okay, question 2. Have you made a decision or been given a project to act on without complete information?
So I work for yes.
Explain your process in deriving a solution or making a decision to execute the project.
So in my work now, I work as the Director of Intergovernmental Affairs for New Hampshire DHHS. Oftentimes, I am handed a project and told, go forth and figure this out. And so that is incomplete information. Typically, it is, they hand me a few items that I need to check in on, and I herd cats. I'm a project manager, and I work with different levels of government, local, state, federal, as well as other agencies within the state and our stakeholders, our nonprofits. And so part of that is then reaching out to get more information. I don't like going forward too far without more information, but if I can get a base level understanding and then I, put my feelers out, ask them who I should talk to and them who I should talk to, and you kind of go down those rabbit holes, those trails, and you figure out more information and you can make more informed decisions.
Okay. Board would fill out that page. Question 3, this is motivation to achieve. Have you ever been required to complete a project that you are not enthusiastic about?
Yes.
I know you're holding back the answer.
I bet.
You want to keep rolling. Very telling. Tell us how you motivated yourself to complete the project.
Sheer will, I think, is the best way to answer that. So really, it's again what I do now. Part of some work I'm handed, and I just go, "Oh, this is not at all interesting to me."
Give us an example of
Sure.
an actual thing that you did.
Sure. So I'm actually trying to think of something I worked on recently, and that was. I'm blanking on the name of it, but our youth residential facility. So while we continue to hold on to the facility itself and the maintenance and the grounds and the building, the 4 walls in now belong to Dartmouth Health. And so they run what is called a youth residential treatment facility. It is for children with behavioral health complex issues. But what I had to do was then go and coordinate the passing of those operations. So we did it internally. We had taken it from WellPath, and then we kind of got them in order, and then we're handing it off to Dartmouth Health. The reason that was really not fun to do, and something I didn't really want to do, was because I felt the state should really hold on to some of those operations and then contract with Dartmouth. But knowing that wasn't the option before me, you kind of just go with it, and then you make sure it's all done. I don't have a choice to not do my job, whether I find it interesting or not. Motivation is just a matter of just doing it, getting my checklist out, getting everything done, and making sure it's done well. Because again, there's no way you can't do something because you don't want to.
Okay. Question 4. Have you developed initiatives to motivate employees? Excuse me.
Yes.
You're getting better at this.
I know.
Explain your role. What did you learn?
So right now I am working on the roadmap, which is our strategic plan within Health and Human Services. And part of my role is to gently nudge, encourage people to get their work done, whether they want to do it or not. And so part of that incentive, you do have the carrot, right? You still, if you get this done early, you don't have to listen to me bug you, repeatedly email you and teach you and call you and everything of that nature. So I feel like just not having to deal with me is a good incentive for them sometimes.
How did you measure the results?
By them finishing. So right now we are, I would say, 90% done with our roadmap, and it is due out September 1st. And actually, that's what I was working on from my hotel this morning, was making sure everyone got their initiatives done. And the results will be our stakeholders. We are currently working on getting positive quotes from them to add to our roadmap as we release our press release for it. And so by engaging with our stakeholders and getting their feedback and their input and their buy-in, I would say that's the success of them finishing this roadmap.
Okay. Board, finish that sheet. Okay, we'll move on to work habits. Question 5. Have you ever participated, facilitated, or organized a strategic planning session with elected or appointed officials or internal staff?
Yes.
Tell us about this experience. What was your role? Did your group set priorities and goals? If so, what was your role in this? What technique did you use to maintain participation throughout the process and set direction?
Sure. So as I just mentioned, our roadmap, we have our strategic plan for DHHS. And actually, they brought me in because I do have more of the strategic mindset, and also I had the bandwidth to be able to do this. So a little bit of both. And so part of that was not necessarily brainstorming. We had our executive team retreat where we did do some of that. Brainstorming broke out into sessions, discussed our initiatives. We have 15 total initiatives, and I am currently working with our commissioner, our deputy commissioner, and associate commissioners to make sure that it meets the needs and the goals within the department, but as well as within the state, because we as a department don't really exist without our constituents. And so we want to make sure that meets all of their needs. So we go through and we make sure that they are engaging with their stakeholders, they're engaging with their community partners, they're engaging even with the legislators, because if we don't have buy-in from legislators, they will pass laws that will go against our roadmap, or they will try to pass laws that go against our roadmap, and then we have to speak to it. So getting their buy-in, and even if we have legislation that needs to be put forward to help further our roadmap, that's what we work with them on as well. So I'm sorry, I start talking and I forget what the question
Thank
was.
you. I think you answered them all. Yeah. So question 6. Have you ever made a mistake while working on a project?
Yes.
Tell us about the mistake.
I have a few. I won't lie. They are mistakes, but you learn from mistakes. One of them was actually a piece of legislation where we were passing, for public health, we were passing over one of our food safety items, programs, over to the Department of Agriculture, and I wrote the amendment wrong, so I ended up just canceling the program altogether and not actually passing it over. And that was on the second side of the House, so it basically couldn't go anywhere else. We were able to do a committee of conference, get the amendment fixed, and get it changed and put it back in. The program exists to this day under the Agriculture Department.
What did you do to find this mistake?
When it showed up on the website, the New Hampshire General Court website, so, it goes through the process, it goes through the amendment process, and once the amendment is adopted, the new bill comes out. When I opened that link to make sure everything looked right, all of a sudden it said, it basically, the language read that the program was canceled.
What did you do?
I did call my boss, almost crying, because I went, oh no. He went, this is solvable. But I then had to reach out to the legislators, the committee chairs on both the House and the Senate side, explain to them what happened, tell them I messed up. Could you please call a committee of conference so that we can get this fixed? And they said, yes, we will do that. By that point, throughout the session, you already build up those relationships. They knew that if I was calling them at 8 o'clock on a Thursday night, that something was wrong. And so they both agreed to it, got them to call a committee of conference, and I went in with the corrected language, triple checked, handed it to them all, and just walked them through it to explain what was going on and why this was needed, and they just voted on it and fixed it for me.
Okay. Board members, finish that page out. Into interpersonal skills. Question 7. Have you ever changed someone else's perspective on a policy or vice versa?
Yes.
Tell us about this experience.
So again, I work in the Department of Health and Human Services, but prior to that I worked with just the Division of Public Health, which is in the department. New Hampshire is a live free or die state, so again, there were the gun issues, but this was actually vaccine related. And what happened was I had a legislator put forward, he was a senator, he put forward a piece of legislation that was considered parental rights. So what would have happened was if the parents, while they were together, decided not to vaccinate their child and then divorced, and after 5 years, if one parent decided they wanted to then vaccinate their child, they couldn't bring the other parent to court to make that change. It's a 5-year line. And it was touted as parental rights because of the rights of the other parent. And I asked him, what about the rights of the parent who is making the request? They have new information. They have, they come up with, they understand the science. They know that this child should be vaccinated now. What about their parental rights? And he agreed, and he went into the committee hearing to present the bill, because in New Hampshire, every bill gets a hearing, so every bill has to be presented. He went in to present it and respectfully requested that they kill his bill.
Okay. Moving on to question 8. In your work experience, have you dealt with the media?
Yes.
Tell us about a positive experience. Tell us about a negative experience.
Sure. So, again, in my work, I do not deal with the media in the sense that I do not go before the camera, thankfully. No one wants to see that. But, however, what we do is I would prepare our state epidemiologist, Dr. Chan, for those media inquiries. So a lot of the time, he would go before the news, and one time we did have to call them to pull down a segment because they caught him laughing, and it was about childhood cancer. And the problem was he was laughing with the gentleman that was interviewing him, but the way they clipped it was it looked like he was laughing just before answering the question, and of course that does not. So that's the negative one, I would say. However,
what steps did you take when that happened?
I contacted our communications director, our PIO, and he reached out to the media because he's the one who has that working relationship with them. And he went and basically went as high up as he could to get that taken down and ask them to reclip that. And we didn't mind the story running. It was just the optics of him laughing right before talking about childhood cancer. So that was, I would say, a negative. However, we also have really good positive ones. We have people reaching out to us all the time. I can't think of a specific good one just because we have so many more than we have the negative ones, luckily, where I work. We have a lot of children in foster care, so, they run highlights on our children who are looking for forever families. Even our staff are highlighted sometimes for the great work that they do throughout the state. And so I would say those are the positive ones.
Okay. Where did you fill out that page? Make sure my pages didn't stick together for management skills. Inside joke. Number 9, we're dealing with management skills. Have you delegated to staff members in your past leadership positions?
Yes.
Tell us how you delegated in the past. How did you measure successful implementation? Tell us about a time that a staff member did not accomplish the results you desired.
So,
repeat that?
Nope, I think I got it. Yeah, so I'm going to actually have to dig back for that one a little bit, because right now my job, and my job at Public Health, and my job at TxDOT, Texas Department of Transportation, wasn't necessarily delegating tasks other than, can you please get me this information, right? However, I'm going to dig back to my McDonald's days from when I was in my early 20s and I was a manager. And so you're a manager of your friends and your colleagues and people you hang out with. I have had to delegate tasks to them before, and sometimes my friends, don't want to listen to their 22-year-old manager. And so one time I did have to fire one of my friends because they refused to do their job, and it was something as simple as cleaning a restroom. But and obviously that wasn't the one item I fired. There was a series of items that kind of built up to that. But I'm trying to think of more recent times. I've also worked with, within scouting. I used to volunteer with the Boy Scouts more, and so I would delegate items out to, again, teenagers. That's always fun. And sometimes they don't listen to you. Sometimes they don't want to. And sometimes you have to send them home, especially if they're a staff member and they aren't listening and they have to do some work that they don't want to do. Back to, you can't just not do your job because you don't want to do it. As for motivating them to do their work, sometimes, sometimes just talking to them. Why don't you want to do this? And really working with them on how to motivate them. And again, if you're dealing with teenagers especially, and I know that's not really what I would be dealing with here, but I feel like if you can motivate a teenager to do something, you can probably motivate an adult to do it. And so, just sitting down and talking to them, why don't you want to do it? And try to figure out a course of action before, the nuclear option.
Okay, question 10. Have you cut costs in your organization's budget?
Yes.
What did you do?
So one item that was interesting to me, I worked at Maine Savings Credit Union as a compliance specialist. And at the time, this is a bit of time ago, but at the time, this is before online banking was on your phone, really. But people had online banking, and it was still considered a secure method of communication, though. So that was good. And one way we were able to save money, actually, was just on postage. So we would get these returned envelopes of saying, this person has moved. But you can't just change that address because anyone could fill out that form. So we would have to contact them. And we would send letters out to both places, both addresses, have them fill it out, things of that nature. And I went, well, why don't we just message them over their online banking and have them confirm this? And they went, oh, that's a great idea. And there was nothing legally requiring us to mail it out hard copy. So I was able to save us, who knows how much in postage alone, not to mention the time, the paper, the printing, everything of that nature. And it seems so simple. And even going back to the Dartmouth transfer of operations, I was able to save us time and money because they had said, Dartmouth had said, we need access to this one data system. Our IT team was saying, we can't give you access to that because if we give you access to this, you would also we would violate HIPAA because you would also get access to these people. And I went, well, I'm not a computer expert by any means, but I know that when you set people up in their system, the new profile, you can check what they can see. So why don't we just check the one and not both? And they said, no, let me show you why we can't do that. And when they pulled it up, they realized, oh, we can do that. And so we were able to save us, 6 months of headaches of arguing when I only had 6 weeks to get all of this transferred over. So that was, just sometimes it's good not to be the expert because you can think of those high-level items, and then when they try to prove you wrong, you're actually right. And it's fantastic.
Or you fill out that page. And then go on to the communication page and fill out those and then tally the final totals.
Okay. Well, thank you for saving the best for last.
time in school today.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, she said that she didn't notice it.
Lori said they flushed the lines, and later that day it was gone.
You got still time to, or you gonna get one?
Yeah.
Speech plan. We still got 3 minutes comments and I don't know what our speech gonna say.
Oh, I didn't know he was going to say anything.
I don't know. We
It'd be easier to get in touch with me at
I think he's
5 o'clock in the morning than it would at 9:15 at night. Well, I get up at 4:30.
I know you
I
think
told
of
you
it.
to send I'll probably send an email and you realize somebody sent you back.
Oh, now on your cell phone.
Oh.
No. Whine.
Mr. Albright, you has no one's file.
You just tested me.
It's like 12 out of 10. No, just joking.
Are you the only one that messed up?
He just got through the first page, Jeff.
Oh, okay. Can't go
He
to
hadn't seen the rest of it yet.
Eric, you're on the roll down there tonight. The thing is, you're sitting a lot closer to Lord.
I'm down here by myself. Well,
Got
Miss
Paul
Brett.
Bing in there with me. Got Paul Bing.
Okay, Alden and Eric, you know I love Christmas, so we all together.
Oh, I knew that's where that was going.
And we're
If you heard, I can use a tambourine, but if you'd heard me sing, you wouldn't ever ask me to do that. Now, I'm a jack of all trades, master of none, but that jack of all trades singing is not anywhere close to that. I'm surprised they don't tell me to hush the church.
Well, I just roughly looked at all the scores. I didn't tally each one. What I like to do is see in the competencies where they rate. But it was obvious by your scores that one person stood out. The last person scored the highest by far than the other ones. That doesn't mean, that you want to hire her. I will say that, in total honesty, she called me and we talked for an hour. She's asking questions about your town. The other ones didn't do that. So I don't know if that's why she presented better. I don't know. The questions were very good questions about the town, where you're at, where you're going, what are the issues. So it's up to you to decide where you want to go with your first full-time manager. You're not going to get somebody with 40 years experience coming into your town when the salary range is what it is.
Unless they're retiring.
Unless they're retired and it's a side gig. But for your first position, I don't know if you feel comfortable moving forward tonight, or some people need to sleep on big things. But Mayor, I would leave it up to you and the board to decide what the next steps are and how fast to move. Being a city manager is a different job than people understand. And I think when you step into that position, it's like a flood of adrenaline all of a sudden, because everything's coming at you, from police to sewers to dealing with the county, and motivating staff and delegating to staff. If one of the three people stood out today that you think is capable of doing that, even though none of the three have been city managers, no one that applied of the 7 were ever in management level in local government. That's kind of the bad news, but the good news is you have MTAS. And if you hire somebody that doesn't have management experience, we're a phone call away. And we mentor managers.
And you told me that you're going to actually come in and do some mentoring.
Yeah, if they need mentoring, if they need assistance, if they need any help, yes.
Well, I could kind of walk them through the processes and, because
give them ideas.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And how to deal with situations, how to communicate with council, which is important.
Yes.
Some people don't realize that you have to communicate.
Important.
And also deal with staff, because they're 2 different languages. Council speaks a different language than staff, so you have to interpret that, and that's something that they don't teach. But yes, I'm available to do that and mentor. So, Mayor, I'll leave it to you. I will tally up across the board how people did in each section, but this one wasn't close. On every category, she did much better in your eyes in answering the questions. All 3 of them were blown away that they came in ready for a regular interview and not answering. They had stories to tell versus what they've actually done in the past. And that kind of throws some people off. But all 3 admitted that, that's a very good way to, I've got to go back and look at, when you write your resume, even, you got to learn how to tell your story based on your experiences, not what you think you can do. So, Mayor, if there's anything I can do tonight, if I can add to your discussion, I'm happy to stay and do that. And I'll tally the items up and hopefully carry it on. Maybe by Wednesday I can get them. I got a full
How
day.
long is she going to stay in town?
What's that?
How long is she going to stay in town?
The last candidate, her flight leaves at 6 a.m.
Tomorrow.
Yep.
I think personally it would be good for the aldermen to go, because it's a little bit late now, to go home and just think if there's anything that you were really impressed by or something that you have more questions about. I think just let's, as you said earlier, let's absorb what we heard, because we heard a lot of things that were very important, a lot of things that were just, discussion, but I think clearly there was one who stood out, and I think we should focus on that person and just, what you said earlier, kind of absorb it. Unless the board would like to move forward with the next steps, which is absolutely doable.
Well, I need to decompress.
Anyone for decompress?
I think so, and also because the experience is a little bit outside a city manager, how to throw in with staff here, and public works here, police department here. That's where I was hoping you would kind of come in and do some of that, and the grant money, and go over so many of those details like that, and then Lori can assist with you on that some too, and I'm sure she's going to be glad to get a lot lifted off of her.
Who are we willing to throw into the fire?
Hey, we did it before.
So amazing. It's not, some of the events are a fire, but coming into the staff, it would be it's a very comfortable group. It's they're amazing at what they do, and they're great people.
She needs to know what she's coming into.
So absolutely.
Know what she's coming into.
How did you feel about her tonight, Jeanine?
Honestly,
Mm-hmm. Your impression?
I'm a very honest person. I'm a realist. I don't know. I think she's up here and we're here. I think she's overqualified.
I think she could put on a helmet, a hard hat, and I think she could ride out there in a police car with a policeman. I got the different impression. I kind of got the feeling that she could jump on into this foxhole over here, and then go jump in that ditch and help them dig if they needed it done.
Which I think is you bring an important point, is that we have different perspectives on this, and I think Eric is correct. Decompressing and
Yeah. But I did want your input.
My concern is transparency and wanting everybody treated fair.
I got that.
That's my concern, is to come in here and stand, not to be friends or buddies, but do your job, be respectful, but treat everybody fair.
Could she really de-escalate a customer that comes in talking about their water bill or their leak that they've had for 2 weeks that's on their side,
Oh, I think so.
and talk to them on their level, not the Dartmouth level? You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be disrespectful whatsoever, but I'm just wondering, can she talk to them and de-escalate it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I've lived it. Yeah.
Right. I know.
You do.
it won't take a job.
You do have those situations where somebody's not happy and it's the worst thing of their day.
Right.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be here. And you have to de-escalate it in a way that it still makes them feel heard.
Yeah.
But there's some things you can't do.
And they walk out feeling resolved.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, what I see out of her was she's at a level above us, no doubt about it, for legislature and stuff on it. And if we ever want to take this town any further and just been a good old boys, good old town, this is where it is, it's where it's always been, it's where it's going to be, then
We're going to need that help.
we'll,
You need to change.
well, she need with governmental stuff, and then she's not here, so I'll talk about her. But you know, Michelle was overqualified. I mean, Michelle had that mentality that she was good. And I just think with the other job, and if she didn't have the other job, she would have been the manager. I mean, you know, she just when looking at her, you know, we looked at her, and she just, why would she want to be here? I'm overqualified, you know. And so, and I think that if she's, you know, wanting to relocate and come to this area and stuff, and
Do you know why she wants to relocate?
She moved north to take care of her a family member, and that family member is now deceased. And she has family near Knoxville, and she wants to move to Tennessee. I explained to her that this isn't close to Knoxville. She says, "Well, I don't want to be on top of it." Yeah. So it's a family. She wants to be close to her family
There's a
now.
bunch of good old boys around.
She's not needed up there.
And I read that she likes
Well, it
the
ain't.
mountains and likes
If we're
to
going
hike.
to go above that standard.
She is a
That's
healthy
what I'm saying. If
person.
you're going to go past that, you know,
I like her.
in the way it used
Well,
to
you
be.
know-
There's a lot of positive. Well, obviously you all
I-
rated
you know,
her
I-
the highest in all the categories.
I mean, I wouldn't mind making a motion that we, but what are we going to pay her?
And Ms. Dogger, you always be available for us if we
Yep.
need something, right?
Absolutely.
What salary did we come up with? We did a range. So,
Range is 55 to 70.
okay, so we could do that separate, right?
Yeah. The first decision you'll come back and make, from what I'm hearing, if I'm hearing correctly, you want to decompress, you want to just process what you just saw and went through. And
Heck, I'm willing to make a motion that we offer her the job. I mean, we can sit here and beat this old dead horse to death, and she did get tired. I know she had I rated her all the way across the board. But would anybody second it? I don't know.
I mean, we kind of heard her and checked her out, and she's going to be relocating. I hope she checked this town out.
I do
and
too.
checked us out.
I do too.
I don't want her to give up a good job.
No.
Come here
And it blow up.
destroy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Right. If I may, Mayor, add each person I walked out with, I'll ask them how they thought they did. I don't like I like asking, not telling them how they did. So, and she says, I didn't do very well. And she says, and she had a little book with her. She says, I spent all day, yesterday and today, stopping by local businesses and talking to them about what they thought the town was doing, what the good parts were, what the bad parts. So that's to answer your question. Does she know what she's stepping into? Yes, and she's also watched some video.
She has watched. Yeah, I heard her say that she watched some
That was
of
part of
her.
the phone call question she asked. So she was kind of tempered of, okay, what am I stepping into here? And so it's not like she thinks you guys all get along all the time. She's seen it. As I told you before, people watch. And this is what you.
I just don't want her to give up a job. And
She's an adult. She's an adult. We need to make a decision whether we're going to offer her a job. And it doesn't say that if we offer her that job, she's going to take that job.
That's right.
So I mean, this is. I know this isn't the private sector, but that's how it works. We decide whether we think she would be good enough. We offer her the job. If she takes it, then we go from there.
Well, and
You know, like,
I would recommend that the next step, if you were going to take that next step, I know you have a motion on the
No.
floor, but is the next step is if you want her to go to the next phase, is to get her sign get her to sign a background check, so you can do a background check, and then we start talking about wage and the
And
compensation.
doesn't that background check, don't you explain it to them that it is, everything is on the background check? That is, of course, if you.
Yeah, she's not offered a job yet.
Until
She's
she
moving
passes
forward
that-
in the process.
Until she
because
passes that background check.
You might get a red flag there. I'm not
Yes,
saying
I
you
mean-
will, but if you do, you're still there. And
I'd say if she's a certified pistol instructor too, she's probably going to pass a background check.
Yeah.
More than likely.
She
With a
can,
firearm
hey,
there.
that woman can tote a gun. She didn't make no bones
we do
about
credit
it.
checks as well, right?
What's that?
Credit checks as well.
yes, I think the form that you have has both credit, and the police department normally does the criminal background.
Now, does anybody want to make a second or not?
What do you think, Mayor? Well, we have Eric who would like to decompress, and a motion to, well, it would be a motion to take the next step.
Yes.
Not exactly
To move forward in the process.
To move forward with background check. And, we've sat on this now for almost a year, so.
So
You're right.
would you? Okay, so let's change your motion to hire her to motion to move on to the next step.
Oh, okay, yes, I'm sorry. Motion to go on to the next
To-
step.
to move
Okay,
on.
so there's a
Motion, I'm sorry.
to move on to the next step in this process by Alderwoman Amy.
Okay.
I'll second.
Three of us at one time.
Whatever they go on.
Second by Alderman Johnson.
Yeah.
You just allow us.
You're going to pull that microphone. All right,
That's gonna make it
take a vote.
Let's take a vote, Madam Reporter.
Alderwoman Kane,
Yes.
Alderman Malone,
Yes.
Alderman Keith,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Adams, Alderman Johnson.
Yes.
Motion to move on to the next step has passed.
Can you send that release form to her and have her sign it, or?
I was just saying, yes,
If,
if you have it here, I might be able to swing by her hotel or call her back here too.
I'll print it.
Okay.
I'll go print it. Let's finish the meeting.
Yep.
We're on that. Let's open the floor for the second session of public comments. Would anyone like to speak? Hearing none. Meeting adjourned. Sorry, I was going to give you all a chance, but